Sweet nuts! Welcome to Bionicle Inspiration Series. It's Ben. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Now, in a previous episode, I said, hey, let me know the themes that you want to see. And one specific request was cloth, but like not typical cloth, kind of weird cloth. So I decided, hey, you're getting both. You're getting normal cloth and weird cloth. So what do I mean by weird cloth? You're just going to have to wait and see. Are they going to be cursed marks or are they going to be cool marks? You're just going to have to wait and see. And you know what? I'm going to stop you waiting. Let's begin. The very first mock on this here show where we spotlight mocks from across the community to give you some inspiration is by Ayo Okononen, and it's Swan Suncaller. Now, the colors on this, they're just a lot of fun. I think it's really nice how Ayo has used a surprising mix of colors, because the colors on this actual cloth piece, which here's the cloth piece on Bricklink. It came in this old Western set if you're interested. It had this beautiful pattern to it, this specific piece. And I don't know, a lot of classic Lego pieces have this really fun, lovely charm to them. So it's great to use some of those slightly older cloth pieces so that you can have a more unique look. And especially when they have a unique pattern like this, and you then take those colors and elements of that pattern and then work it into other areas of the mock. That's just smart, and that just looks cool. So if you're able to just kind of seamlessly weave cloth onto a mock and mix it in with the colors and the shaping and everything, do it, because like we see here, it's a fantastic design. Even filling in some of the gaps in that cloth piece there with some of those ice skate pieces, that's another nice detail. So good job, Ayo. You know what you're doing. Ayo really does know what he's doing. Be sure to check the links in the description and see the other builds that he's built, because he's such a good builder. I love the hair design on this mock too, using some of these tentacle pieces that come in black. These are the Karma tentacle pieces, but they specifically came in this color on this Lego System Bionicle playset. And seeing them just repeated there for all these different strands of hair, I love how that looks. And seeing too that nice fringe design, which appears to be using some of those slightly larger claw pieces and those macaroni pieces and probably other stuff too. I love how that all just flows nicely together. Ayo's been killing it with some really nice hair designs of late, and that is a brilliant example of just how nice that can look. The natural kind of curvature to that tentacle piece too, the fact that it really does look like hair blowing in the breeze, really, really smart. I also love the two weapons, one's a weapon, more of a cane, whatever you want to call it, and the interesting little lantern that they've got there. So cool. So love how this looks. I love too all the different tires as well, whether it's the tires sort of on the boots or the big red tire on the center of the torso, or tires for the sleeves. There's tires everywhere. Just incredible. Looks great. Next, this is a mock by Jafer, and this is Royal Vey Dragon. So on the last mock, we talked about how working the colors of the cloth into the rest of the mock, just how nice that looked. But here, the cloth has been so seamlessly worked into the actual overall design, and I think it's so cool. Especially because it kind of just straight up stops looking like cloth at this point. So the cloth in question, which I suppose you could argue isn't actually quite cloth, it's more of a plastic piece. They're the plastic elements from this Monkey Kid mech set. It's a really beautiful, shiny, kind of chromy piece here, and it fits perfectly on this dragon. So why I think this is so smart is because often when you're building a mock, you have to factor in some of the internal structure. And if you have a specific design you're trying to achieve, or maybe something like this, you're going for a more smoother, curvy aesthetic, the internal structure is going to take up space, and if you have a little bit of a smaller area that you're building in, it can be a real challenge to work that in and still have it look consistent, or have the overall textures and shaping look nice. But here, the fact that Jafer's just used this plastic, now the plastic itself is very thin. So if Jafer wanted to, it could be completely hollow underneath, or maybe there's a whole bunch of ugly interior designs underneath that for the structure, and there was just no way to kind of cover that up. But because you're using that thin plastic and putting it over the top there, you cover it up, it doesn't matter, it looks great. And also, of course, the plastic piece naturally looks really smooth and organic, and it has that nice kind of scaly pattern on it there. Why not use it? It just flawlessly works in with all these other pieces, and the look and feel of it is so perfect for a dragon. I don't know, I just love how this looks. Sure, you could achieve it with all these other different pieces, but I don't know if you get as nice a look as this achieves. So yeah, if you're planning on using cloth, see if you can just really effectively work it into the rest of the design like this is done. The actual dragon head here is so full of life and just looks great. The nice green plant pieces at the back too are very nice. It's a slight hint of green. It's the only place that has green on this mock, but it reminds me of like garnish on a fine dining dish. It just sells it in all the right ways, and it makes it look all the more better. So yeah, exquisite colors and brilliant techniques all throughout. This is awesome. All right, now it's time for some weird stuff. This is Anonymity. Thank you. I got it. It's a late night recording. Don't expect me to say words properly. And this is by Jordan Schwartz. So, you may have heard of an old LEGO theme called Scala. So, if you haven't, basically, I guess you could describe it as LEGO's version of Barbie. It's pretty much it. It had actual dolls with real clothing. It was an attempt to bring in a female market for LEGO, that sort of stuff. And it was really different and strange and almost didn't even feel like LEGO. And yeah, when you use it on mocks, you can get some very strange results, but also some really terrifying results too, like we see here. But yeah, so everything in this image, 100% Lego, all these actual Lego pieces. The body and clothing comes from a specific Scala set, which is this one from this guy here who goes by the name of Christian, but of course his friends call him Chris. Yeah, that's that. But I don't know, I mean, yeah, if you are looking to use cloth on your mocks, look to weird stuff. Look to Scala. I mean, you can get a lot of, I don't know, it's a really brilliant untapped source for fantastic pieces. Weird stuff that you wouldn't even think is Lego, but it is, and it works. Now, the mock itself, I think it's fun, and yes, it looks weird, but it's wonderfully weird and wacky and strange, and yeah, maybe even a little bit cursed. We can see, of course, that it uses the Anika headpiece here without the mask, and that in itself is unsettling. And then when you combine it with the fact that the arms are tentacles and it's lime, so it fits with the head, it's clearly the skin, equally terrifying. And now Jordan has a few other different characters in a very similar vein. Here's another one here, a dragon one this time. I have actually spoken about this in a previous episode, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but it's a very similar deal. It's got Scala clothing, uses tires for skin. I mean, tires for skin is terrifying as well. It definitely fits the cursed category here on this episode. And then it's using the dragon head here from the old awesome Crowny Knights sets. So yeah, the perfect combination for nightmare fuel. But at the same time, it's still really fun. It's still a little bit wacky and it's still pretty cool. And yes, you can go a bit more of a strange route with this if you really want to. But at the same time, too, you could actually build a fairly legitimate mock that uses Scala pieces. And hey, while we talk about that, let's transition over to the next mock because it does exactly that. The last mock now is by Gamma Bomb, and this is SWAT Whip, or Work in Progress, whatever you want to call it. So once again, more Scala, and maybe you could debate that this is a little bit cursed, but I don't know, this one feels a little bit more grounded to me. I mean, the aesthetic for this is a little bit kind of cyberpunk, and it feels very sort of real-world military at the same time. And I think the idea of using Scala stuff for that is very appropriate, right? I mean, Scala's kind of the closest you can get for a bit more kind of realistic-looking figure designs in that sense. So if you are going for a very hyper-real look, which Cyberpunk can lend itself to that to a degree, it's surprisingly fitting. And I think even the fact that it's almost a little bit uncanny how close it kind of looks to well, the fact that it doesn't look like, plastic Lego bricks and it looks a little bit more like a Barbie doll makes it have that weird, uncanny, not quite right feeling. And it could kind of remind you of like an android as well, which is the same kind of thing, right? It looks human, but it is in fact a robot, and it has that sort of like, 1,000-yard gaze in its eyes sort of thing. So it also really does seem quite appropriate for an android here, which is obviously what this is, because the Scala body, again, from Christian, is same pants that we saw before, but this time using tires to form a sort of bulletproof vest of sorts, and then no head on top, again, scary, but instead a sort of robotic head there so that they do look more android-like, which is appropriate. I also like the fact that there appear to be some stickers on the arms this time. I don't know if those are official Lego stickers or not. It's hard to tell in this image. This is a work in progress photo, so it's not a super high quality image. And unfortunately, there weren't a lot of good high quality images of this guy, but we can still get the gist of this character. But still, using stickers for tattoos there, very clever. I'm sure you could still use that with official stickers or custom stickers, whatever. But yeah, the way that this photo is done, it looks like the humanoid android character here is controlling this larger mech, just because the hand's out and the other hand's out there, and they've got a little thing in their hands, kind of looks like some sort of control-y stick thing. So I like that. And this actual kind of robot behind here, there's some very interesting part uses here. The actual head part there, the briefcasey thing in red, it does say on Flickr that that's not actually Lego, it's Playmobil. So interesting idea to be using some non-official Lego pieces. I guess it works on this mock. You can get away with it. And hey, at the same time too, I've always been showing you official, Lego cloth pieces here. but there's no reason you can't get some custom cloth pieces. You make your own, or just take clothing from a Barbie doll or other stuff, or a hot toy action figure. I don't know. Yeah, why not? So you don't always have to go the official route and use official pieces, but that's down to your personal preference. Not everyone likes to do that, and that's okay. Do whatever floats your boat. But yeah, I think that head design is really weird and unique, but is so fitting for this MOC. The choice of the arm design, using the Hordika arm pieces in white there, something very robotic about that and fits the aesthetic of this MOC beautifully. And a very similar piece that also fits the aesthetic of this MOC, on the kind of sort of knees or legs of this MOC, there's this white sort of armor piece here, and this comes on a few different things, but it most noticeably comes on this fantastic Exo-4 set here, and you can see it as shoulder arm armor on the white mech here, by being piloted by Hayato. Always liked that piece, and there's something about it that, again, feels very cyberpunk and fits this aesthetic beautifully. So some very appropriate good part usages there that very much capture this aesthetic, and some great ways of using cloth. Oh, and one other detail that I absolutely adore is on these Christian pant pieces here, or Chris pants, that's maybe the pants have that specific religion, who knows, but there are those knee pads here that are the helmet piece from this specific set, and I think that's great. It works really well as knee pads there. Love that design. So that about wraps up this episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series, where we had a bit of a nice discussion about different ways that you could use cloth in your MOCs, whether it's cursed or whether it's cool. Like I said, check the links in the description and see links to the MOCs you saw today, and then be sure to check out some of the other stuff that these builders have done. A lot of them build some really, really cool stuff, and I could only talk about one of their MOCs in this episode, so be sure to see some of the other brilliant things that they've done, and maybe even leave a comment on some of their work, because I'm sure they'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about what they built. Additionally, in the description below is links to the submission email, so if you've got stuff that you want to see on the show, you can submit it through that, and then I'll do my best to add it into a future episode. And hey, if you've got suggestions for future themes, like I said, I talked about that in the last episode, but there's no reason you can't comment below and let me know some future themes that you'd like to see, whether it's more cloth, whether it's an episode all about Toa, Matoran, Toraga, whatever you want, let me know and I'll see what I can do. That's about it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Happy building, and bye for now.